Long before the empires of Alexander and Rome stretched across continents, a young prince walked the rugged plains of Persis, a land of harsh deserts and fertile river valleys. Born in the mid-6th century BCE, Cyrus was the son of Cambyses I, a local Persian ruler whose small kingdom existed under the shadow of the mighty Median Empire. From the very beginning, Cyrus's life was intertwined with prophecy, legend, and the politics of survival. Tales of his childhood hint at a prince destined for greatness, marked by cunning, courage, and a vision far beyond the confines of his small kingdom. According to later accounts, he narrowly survived assassination attempts designed to eliminate him as a threat to the Median king, yet each danger he faced seemed to sharpen his resolve rather than diminish it. These early experiences instilled in him an acute sense of strategy and an understanding of human nature, tools that would serve him as both diplomat and conqueror. By the time he reached maturity, he had already absorbed lessons in leadership from his father and the Medes, learning the importance of alliances, the necessity of adaptability, and the power of perception. These lessons would define him as a general who did not rely solely on brute strength but on careful planning, psychological insight, and innovation. His first act of military brilliance came when he turned against the Medes, a bold rebellion that required both secrecy and the forging of unexpected alliances. While the Medes believed themselves untouchable, Cyrus quietly cultivated support among Persian tribes and even within Median factions, dissatisfied with the ruling monarchy. The uprising was not simply a battle of armies, it was a war of minds. Cyrus's understanding of loyalty and fear allowed him to move swiftly, striking decisively when the time was right, until the Median Empire fell into his hands. With this conquest, he did not merely seize power. He laid the foundation for a new empire, one that would stretch across continents and influence the course of history for centuries to come. But it was not only his tactical brilliance that set him apart. It was his ability to inspire those around him, to unite diverse peoples under a single banner, and to envision a world in which governance was guided by principles rather than mere conquest. He treated defeated foes with clemency, integrating them into his empire rather than punishing them indiscriminately. This approach, revolutionary for its time, strengthened his rule, cultivated loyalty, and demonstrated a level of strategic foresight that went far beyond the battlefield. Cyrus's rise to power was not an isolated event. It was a testament to his understanding of the intricate dance between diplomacy and warfare, ambition and restraint. Every move he made carried consequences not just for his enemies, but for the stability and prosperity of the lands he would ultimately govern. Once Cyrus had secured control over Persia and the former Median territories, his attention turned westward, toward the rich and fragmented lands of Lydia. Here, the legendary King Cyrus ruled a kingdom famed for its wealth and formidable armies. Cyrus, confident in the natural defenses of his cities and the strength of his forces, underestimated the cunning of the young Persian king. The campaign against Lydia revealed a different facet of Cyrus's genius, his mastery of psychological warfare and strategic patience. Rather than rushing headlong into battle, he studied the terrain, assessed the morale of enemy troops, and sought to exploit divisions within the Lydian leadership. His army, composed of Persians, Medes, and other allied forces, moved with disciplined precision, striking not only at Cyrus's cities, but also at the alliances that supported them. In one of the most famous confrontations, Cyrus faced Cyrus on the battlefield near Sardis. Ancient sources describe the initial clashes as evenly matched, with both armies demonstrating discipline and courage. Yet Cyrus's ability to adapt in real time, to anticipate and counter the Lydian maneuvers, gradually turned the tide in his favor. When the final victory came, it was not only a triumph of arms, but a testament to his strategic foresight. Cyrus was captured, yet Cyrus spared him, demonstrating the magnanimity that would become a hallmark of his reign. By treating former enemies with respect and integrating their expertise and resources into his empire, he strengthened his rule and set a precedent that distinguished his empire from others built solely on fear and oppression. The conquest of Lydia expanded the Persian influence into the western reaches of Anatolia, opening trade routes and creating opportunities for further expansion. It also sent a clear message across the known world. Cyrus was a general who combined intellect, courage, and mercy, a leader whose victories were as much the product of careful planning as they were of battlefield valor. Beyond the immediate military success, the fall of Lydia reshaped the political landscape of the region, forcing neighboring states to reconsider their allegiances and opening a path for Persia to become a dominant power in the ancient Near East. The genius of Cyrus lay not merely in the lands he conquered, but in the systems he built to hold them, blending military might with diplomacy, vision with pragmatism, and ambition with compassion. This balance would define his rule and ensure that his empire was not only vast but resilient, capable of enduring far beyond the span of his lifetime. As the Persian Empire expanded, Cyrus's attention turned to Babylon, a city that had stood as a symbol of wealth, learning, and power for centuries. Babylon's walls were legendary, and its defenses were considered impregnable. Many generals before him had failed to breach the city, deterred by its size and the sophistication of its fortifications. Yet Cyrus approached the challenge with characteristic ingenuity. Understanding that a direct assault would be costly and potentially disastrous, he turned to strategy that combined both cunning and patience. Historical accounts describe how he diverted the waters of the Euphrates River, allowing his troops to enter the city beneath the walls where the river ran. This was not merely a feat of engineering, it was an exercise in psychological mastery, demonstrating an ability to turn nature itself into an ally. When Cyrus entered Babylon, he did so not as a conqueror bent on destruction, but as a ruler who understood the value of the city's culture and religion. The famous Cyrus Cylinder, often regarded as the first charter of human rights, records his respectful treatment of the Babylonians, allowing them to continue their religious practices and return exiled peoples to their homelands. This act was not only morally significant, it was strategically brilliant. By positioning himself as a liberator rather than a tyrant, Cyrus secured the loyalty of his new subjects and ensured stability in one of the most important cities of the ancient world. His conquest of Babylon exemplifies a recurring theme in his campaigns, the fusion of military genius with statesmanship. Victory for Cyrus was never an end in itself. It was a means to create sustainable, cohesive governance over diverse and often disparate peoples. Through these actions, he set a precedent that would influence future rulers, demonstrating that the might of an army is magnified when coupled with wisdom, respect, and foresight. The capture of Babylon also solidified his reputation across the Near East. From the banks of the Euphrates to the mountains of Persia, tales spread of a king who conquered cities with brilliance and tempered power with justice. His victories were celebrated not merely for their scale, but for the enduring impact they had on the societies he absorbed, transforming regions that had once been battlegrounds into thriving centers of commerce, culture, and administration. In this way, Cyrus was more than a general. He was a visionary architect of empire, capable of wielding power with a precision that few have matched in history. While Cyrus is often remembered for his battles and conquests, his most enduring legacy may lie in the system of governance he established across his vast empire. The Persian Empire, under his leadership, was not a monolithic state, but a federation of diverse cultures, languages, and religions. Cyrus understood that the strength of his rule depended on the cooperation of local populations rather than their subjugation. He appointed satraps or provincial governors to manage different regions, granting them autonomy while ensuring loyalty to the central authority. This system allowed for efficient administration and the integration of local customs into the broader imperial framework. Moreover, Cyrus encouraged economic development, standardized weights and measures, and fostered trade routes that connected distant corners of his empire. These measures not only enriched Persia, but also facilitated communication, commerce, and cultural exchange. By combining military prowess with sophisticated governance, Cyrus created an empire that was both expansive and stable. Another key element of his leadership was the careful cultivation of loyalty through respect and inclusion. He incorporated soldiers, administrators, and advisors from the lands he conquered, recognizing that their expertise and allegiance were critical to the success of his empire. This approach reduced resistance, minimized rebellion, and promoted a sense of shared purpose. The empire became a tapestry of peoples united not only by conquest, but by pragmatic policies that acknowledged their unique identities while binding them to a common structure. Cyrus's governance reflected his understanding that power is sustained not merely by force, but by trust, vision, and foresight. In many ways, his approach presaged modern principles of administration and diplomacy, highlighting the enduring relevance of his methods. By combining military strategy with political insight, he ensured that his conquests were not fleeting victories, but lasting institutions. It is this integration of warfare, diplomacy, and statecraft that elevates Cyrus above other generals in history, defining him not merely as a conqueror, but as a builder of civilization, whose influence shaped the course of the ancient world and whose example continues to resonate millennia later. Even as Cyrus expanded his empire and solidified his administration, he remained a general who led from the front, understanding that true leadership required presence and courage. Unlike some rulers who commanded from a distance, he often accompanied his armies into battle, sharing the risks and inspiring his troops through example. This personal involvement strengthened the morale of his soldiers and reinforced the loyalty of his commanders. Historical accounts describe how he combined battlefield tactics with grand strategy, adjusting to the circumstances of each engagement while maintaining a long-term vision for his campaigns. He was not merely reactive, he anticipated challenges, exploited weaknesses, and leveraged both terrain and diplomacy to his advantage. The campaigns against the Massagetae and other nomadic tribes in Central Asia further highlight his adaptability and understanding of diverse forms of warfare. Facing foes skilled in cavalry tactics and unconventional strategies, Cyrus employed both ingenuity and relentless discipline, ultimately extending his influence into regions far beyond the traditional Persian heartland. These campaigns illustrate a key aspect of his greatness: the ability to synthesize knowledge from multiple sources, tribal politics, geography, and military science, into coherent plans that achieved results against formidable opponents. Yet despite his successes, Cyrus remained pragmatic and cautious, avoiding unnecessary risk and showing restraint when the potential for destruction outweighed the benefits of conquest. This balance of boldness and prudence, of vision and restraint, distinguishes him from many generals in history whose ambition exceeded their wisdom. By combining strategic foresight with operational excellence, he created a model of leadership that influenced not only his contemporaries, but also future generations of commanders. His campaigns demonstrate that greatness in military leadership is not merely measured in territory gained, but in the skill, ethics, and vision with which power is exercised. Cyrus's legacy, therefore, is a testament to the enduring impact of a leader who understood that the art of war is inseparable from the responsibilities of governance, and that true greatness arises from the fusion of intellect, courage, and humanity. The final chapters of Cyrus's life were marked by both continued ambition and a recognition of the fragility of life and empire. Even as he pushed the boundaries of his realm, he remained committed to the principles that had guided him from his earliest campaigns: justice, respect for diversity, and strategic foresight. His campaigns in Central Asia, while extending Persian influence, also exposed him to the harsh realities of frontier warfare, where logistics, climate, and local resistance tested even the most skilled commanders. It was during these campaigns that Cyrus faced his final challenge: a battle against nomadic tribes in the eastern regions of his empire. Historical sources describe his death in combat, a testament to his lifelong commitment to leading from the front and sharing the risks of his soldiers. Even in death, Cyrus's reputation as a strategist, diplomat, and visionary endured. His successors inherited not merely a vast territory, but a blueprint for governance, military organization, and cultural integration that allowed the Persian Empire to thrive long after his passing. The influence of his methods extended far beyond his own era, shaping empires and rulers for centuries to come. From the ethical treatment of conquered peoples to the establishment of administrative systems that balanced central authority with local autonomy, Cyrus's legacy is a model of enlightened leadership in a time often characterized by brutality and tyranny. His combination of strategic brilliance, visionary governance, and ethical foresight, secures his place as one of history's greatest generals, not merely for the lands he conquered, but for the enduring institutions, principles, and cultural legacies he left behind. The story of Cyrus the Great is more than a chronicle of military conquest. It is a narrative of leadership, vision, and humanity, illustrating how one man's intellect, courage, and foresight can shape the destiny of nations and the course of history itself. His life remains a source of inspiration, a reminder that the truest measure of greatness lies not only in the battles won, but in the wisdom, justice, and enduring impact of a leader's actions.